Okay, this is part 4, I believe. Here we go. Just checking everything is in order. Yep, seems to be. Here we go. Let's get this Mount Moon knocked out. I'm so done with Mount Moon. It's unreal. You wouldn't believe. Zubats are annoying as usual. We've already got one as well, so it's not even like a, at least it's our first catch kind of vibe. We're just superfluous Zubats. Realised I can probably one-shot him with confusion, so easy EXP. Sort of deliberated though, because I'm paranoid about over-leveling, but I think we'll be okay. Yeah, it's funny. People always memed about how much they hated Zubats. Yeah, like always said they sucked ass, and yet like when they reappeared in Pokemon Sword and Shield's like final expansion in one of the caves, people heard their telltale cry. People were like really glad to see them. It was like a weirdly common like really reported thing of like, oh no way, I've missed Zubats. I think it's because we no longer have the whole issue of like. Having to have Zubats, like, because encounters on modern Pokemon games aren't based on like just rummaging through a cave. It's just not inherently not so bad. So I think it allows the nostalgia. So this is our first rocket canonically, I guess. Like it's kind of cool actually how it kind of, it's like a low-key introduction. You just come across this guy in a cave and he's wearing the uniform and he's talked some shit, but you don't really know the scope of what you're dealing with. Like, probably would have put you off at this stage, like an international terrorist organization, Did they really do terrorism? They're just criminals, really, right? I feel like they're terrorists maybe in the, like, Generations continuity, where it's trying to be a bit more cool and dark. But I don't know if they really, like, blow stuff up. They more just steal shit. They're more thieves. They're more like a crime syndicate. But, I mean, they have like kind of political demands. I mean, they want the whole Pokemon stuff, human, blah, 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 status quo to be changed. So that's like kind of a political goal. It's sort of vague because again, it's a game made for 10-year-old children. That Leech Seed was evaded message is just infuriating to me. I hate it. Like, ugh. But yeah, because it doesn't do much quickly. You want the Leech Seed on early on so it kind of accumulates, but you take 2 hits per Leech Seed and it almost then becomes like not worth having been done. And Seedling needs to get the fuck out of there. No risk, even though Rattata's nearly dead. We're not fucking around with our starter. Without fail, when I record one of these, my phone goes off. Like, I get some kind of dumbass email. It might be the time I'm doing them or something, but my shifts are all over the place. And I do them when I get home from work, so it's probably not that. He has a Zubat. If you just thought you had enough Zubats, you get trainer Zubats. You can't even run away from this guy. I don't really understand what's resisting. it's because he's half flying, isn't it? I never really understood why Zubats resisted karate chops, but I feel like if you karate chopped a bat, it would fuck it up. Like, it would just ruin it, Like, a little bat, like, not one of those large fruit bats, but, like, a small-sized bat of a human or, like, super-powered monster, like, fucking just went at it. You'd batter it, But, what do I know about bats? I did know a bat expert, actually, and he liked Pokemon too, actually, funny enough, which is kind of amusing. Yeah, I wonder if he liked Zubats. I never really asked him. That would have been a good question to ask, but such is life. I never think to ask shit, like, at the time. Like, years later, I'm like, oh, I wonder what so-and-so would have said about so-and-so, and it's, like, way too late. But yeah, so many trips to the Pokemon Center in these playthroughs. I'm gonna have to start editing these because there's like dead spots or spots where I'm just like talking filler for the sake of it. Like, this is going to be a pretty long game without it being sped up. But if I talk through the whole like half an hour, then speed it up, there's going to be like parts where I'm talking super fast. And if I cut it once it's merged, how do other people do this? I guess they edit the footage first and then overdub the footage. But you're not really getting the live reaction, you know? I watched that TFS Plays Leaf Green was a pretty good one, because I already followed those dudes, I guess, because of the Dragon Ball dub. But like, their playthrough was pretty good. But there was like 4 of those dudes. That's the thing, it's so much easier, especially if one person's doing the controls, like the other 3 are cross-talking, asking each other questions. And invariably they have different knowledge levels, so they can kind of talk about it. Whereas, like, I don't know what the hypothetical listener to this does or doesn't know or gives a shit about. So I'm just purely waffling about shit that interests me or pops into my head. It's weird how Fire Red incorporated the held items thing of gold and silver in other generations, but, like, you don't really get anything like berries and to hold till a lot of the way into this, you know? I guess it maybe would be pretty OP early on if you had, like, Quick Claw. Could go first versus Gym Leader's Pokemon and wipe them out with type advantage. Again, deliberating over whether to actually kill the Zubat or not. Lass Miriam. I never really understood the like class of lass. Like, it just means young girl, but that's such like a Scottish-y thing. Like, I don't think Americans say lass. Like, when they presumably that meant something else in Japanese, and when they translated it, maybe it's something that doesn't really have a straight. Like, it would sound stupid in English. Like maybe it's like maiden or something, and you're like, well, we're not calling them that. That's fucking dumb. So they, you know, I don't really know like what terms they've got for women and men at different ages. I always thought it's weird how women have that like extra, like, you know, you got like boys and men and then like girls and women, but you've also got lady in the mix. I mean, I guess it's like you had lords and ladies, but like no one says fucking lord unless they're like a butler for a rich guy. But even then it's kind of like, no, they don't call you lord, do they? They call you master, which is like, call young people master, which is like what you get on a post when you're under 18 as a male. Yeah, because everyone's like, oh, you get miss and misses, but men are just misters. But in the UK, we totally had this like master thing for boys, but master sounds so much fucking cooler than mister. Like, it's such a downgrade when you're 18 or 16 or whatever and you get a letter that says mister. You're like, oh, that sucks. I just always think of the Fresh Prince of Bel-Air, you know, where Jeffrey's like, Master William, you know. It always just makes me think of that. Ekans is a cool Pokemon. I like that. I like the Pokemon that are just obviously just a regular animal. Like, oh yeah, we need a snake, and they were hella lazy. I mean, you know, everyone says this. It's like such a dumb thing to point out, but you know, their names backwards are Snake and Cobra for Ekans and Arbok. And he's not as trolly as other poison types. He doesn't actually poison you as often. Like, he doesn't have that poison barb that Nidos have, and he does have poison sting, but he'll often wrap you or bite you instead. So like, he's not as trolly. So I don't hate him. I can't grow to hate him like some of the other poisons. And he doesn't self-destruct like bloody Coughings and Wheezings do. That is a horrible move on Nuzlocke, honestly. They should disable that shit. Or make it do like a percentage of damage, like 99% of your health. Because why can't you just keep a distance from the Pokemon like that can do it? Like, just tell you. That's the thing about the anime. The anime, like, for all its bad faults, they wouldn't just like use move A 1 through 4. They would like tell them stuff like, you know, hide behind this thing or jump on that or block it with this. You know, like they would tell them to do physical actual actions in the real overworld. You know, they could listen to commands other than moves. And so yeah, why can't you just be like, okay, yeah, use Vine Whip, but like make sure you stay really far fucking away from him because he's probably going to blow up. But there's no mechanic for that, which is fine. They can't do mechanics for everything, but then like don't remove my ability to avoid something I could avoid, you know? I don't want to sound like that idiot talking about punching out a horse in Dark Souls in real life or something, but like, yeah, you know, it's like, that's why I never liked those classic Resident Evil games, you know, the old Resident Evils, because it was like artificial Nintendo hard kind of difficulty because you, you know, the camera angles, it was atmospheric and stylized, whatever you want to do, but like, stuff would only fuck you up because of the clunky ass controls and bad view. Like normally if you could see something at the end of a corridor and like aim a gun, how you can actually aim a gun like in front of your face and looking down the sight, it wouldn't be a problem to kill like a slow zombie with a gun if you're a trained cop or soldier or some shit. I really don't know about Resident Evil, or I'm probably just going to piss off and alienate people talking about it, but I always thought that like, I thought these stars were supposed to be like really special cops or soldiers or something, and yet they, like Jill is such a damsel in the first one. I mean, she does all the badass action hero stuff, but she starts out pretty scared. And to be fair, I'd be scared of zombies too, but again, they're like super soldiers, right? Or super cops. You think they would just be good enough at like, they wouldn't be picked if they were like jumpy and nervous, you know? I don't know, it just irritates me. I watched a long video of someone comparing the new Resident Evil 3 to the old Resident Evil 3 and how they've kind of taken everything that made it special and unique. And, you know, you can tell he was biased because he was like obsessed with he was coming at it from a nostalgia point of view. Like he was totally, most of his criticisms of the new one were fair, but like he was also, I feel like if you're going to do a comparison, you need to actually criticize the bad things about the old one. And like he uses one little, you know, the graphics are obviously garbage on the old ones, like by modern standards, and yet, and it's like a 3D PlayStation game, so it's not like Sonic or Mario that's like timeless or something graphics wise. It is just bad and, you know, gritty, pixely. But like, yeah, he showed one little clip where there's like Nemesis firing rockets at you, and one like misses his head and hits the wall and explodes like in a tiny little orange, like pff, like the fucking imps on Doom, you know. And it's like he's talking about this new one did this and this, and he's like really getting into every nitpick he possibly can. It's like the old ones had rockets explode in your head and do no splash damage. Like, come on, man. Like, yeah, you know, Apple's you got to be fair, you know. And he said he doesn't like. They always do this. These like gamer nerd dudes. They say they're not offended by strong women, but they say, oh, it's not that I don't like strong female characters. It's that, you know, I don't like it when it's forced or whatever. But it's like they always just move the goalposts. You know, they'll find they know they can't really flat out admit, I just don't want to see a woman being tough and swearing and stuff. You know, because it's just they don't like it. They have to say, oh, no, it doesn't seem believable or whatever. And it's irritating because sometimes there is a real criticism in there. Like he showed clips of Jill swearing at Onyx, and it was a bit like Onyx is on my screen swearing at Nemesis, and like it was like it did feel really kind of contrived. Like it was like trying too hard. Like, you know, it was like how a kid swears to be cool, and not because she's a woman and it sounds like that when women swear. I mean, the people who wrote the game or whatever, it just on, you know, the script was a bit, you know, yeah, but so that's like a valid criticism, but you could just tell from his tone that he was like kind of a dick, and like, you know, and it's like, yeah, it discredits the point you could agree with when a shitty person is arguing it, you know. It's like, stop helping. There's a conversation to be had at that. Same thing with Captain Marvel, man. I mean, there were flaws in Captain Marvel, and there were flaws in Infinity War in the way that women were like portrayed and used as like token girl power shit in a kind of lazy way. But a lot of the criticism of it was explicitly like dumb sexist nerds, and it's like they don't realize they're hurting the cause of, like, if they weren't the ones criticizing it, someone better could criticize it and actually be listened to. But instead they're going to double down and not listen to you and probably mock you in some way, which they deserve, but like it means the problem doesn't get resolved. I want strong, you know, I want more Buffys and less Captain Marvels, you know what I mean? Like, yeah, you know, a protagonist who's just so overpowered and can't be hurt is just absolutely boring. And Marvel generally knows that. Like, they're not Superman, and yet they made Captain Marvel, and I would be saying this if she was a male character, you know? And, you know, in her first movie as well, like, Thor's power crept up, but like throughout several movies and trials and tribulations, and he's, you know, literally a god, and he's, you know, I don't know, it would, yeah, you know, I just think shit could be done better, and I hate it when the people criticizing the thing do it badly or with some kind of prejudice leaking out, because you get what I'm saying. So yeah, cutting through these rockets, the Ratata makes me nervous, because if I've got Hyperfang, so is he, and then when I nearly killed him and he used it on me, I was like, shit, I'm dead. But luckily he missed, which was rad. Critical quick attack is nice. I'm thinking one Hyperfang will do it, but thanks to sand attack I miss. What a jerk. And now I think any minute he's going to start hitting me back, and he's going to get so many defensive curls off. By the time I hit him, it will be trouble. But yeah, luckily we do pretty well. Anything should finish him off now, even with all those defensive curls. Just a trolly combination of moves. Philip's now a bit stronger. Good old purple rat has been with us since the beginning. Yeah, I'm never satisfied with like villains in things. Like I'm thinking Team Rocket, it's like, yeah, they're a bit two-dimensional and a bit evil, but it's like, why can't... There's a problem now in media where they often try and have relatable villains or villains who have a bit of a point, you know, but then they have to be really villainous to like justify, I guess, you not being on their side and the hero winning, which gets quite complicated. So like Killmonger on Black Panther, like he's completely right in all the shit he says, but he's got several I hate TV tropes, but what they call like kick the dog moments, where he shoots through his girlfriend to kill Claw, like he bullies the old people when he takes over Wakanda, like he burns all the plants. And it's like, if he had just done exactly the same shit but just dialed back the like awful shit, that would have been, then at the end you really would have been like, shit, well maybe he should have won. And they have to like have them morally fail despite having legitimate criticism, and it does start to make you a bit conspiratorial. Like you know, like those Kingsman movies, they had someone trying to solve global warming, which like he's trying to do it by like genocide, so of course they stop him, but it does leave you with the yay, we stopped solving global warming, you know. Same thing with the second one where she's trying to like legalize drugs or something, which absolutely should be done, but she's doing it in like a criminal way to get a monopoly. And so it's like, yeah, but it just like it's like, what are you trying to say? What are your actual politics? Because like a film is frustrating when it like its premise exists hinging on like a social ill or a thing that's shitty amongst all our governments and leadership, you know. It's like, yeah, okay, I accept that's logical, makes sense, but it's not fun. Like, I don't know, it kind of pisses me off. I think the other thing is you can't ever have a movie that does like completely the plot, if it's set in like the real world, especially if you want to do a sequel, to have it then completely change the whole world like drastically, because I think people can't, I think it's like a capitalist realism thing, you know, people can't actually literally picture what that would be, and so they don't know how to like draw it, animate it, like script it. They don't know, they physically don't know, and so they don't, and it just leaves everything, it kind of means all media, even when like the good guys win, is like quite defeatist, because like nothing, you know, changes, the status quo comes back. I think that's one of the reasons people like Avatar, you know, because they win, they kick off the humans, and then they do like fucking, you know, he goes off to live his new life. But even then it kind of has to end there because, you know, I don't know. I mean, they had to borrow from like Native American culture and everything else to like tribal culture and shit, I guess, to like, you know, show that like what their life was like. They didn't really visualize something entirely new other than the weird head bonding tentacle things, right? So yeah, this nerd, I can't remember if I spoke about this before in another part, but like he doesn't want to share the fossils. Yet like he doesn't want to share the fossils, and then he's like, all right, fine, I'll share, you beat me, and you're like, yeah, good, sharing's better. But it's like someone pointed out where he dug them up, but it's then they're sitting in the middle of the path where you'd go anyway, so it's kind of like, were they there all along? This game seems to act like you're the first, in some ways it acts like you're the first person to ever like walk these routes and do the things you're doing, but it's like there's buildings and infrastructure, you know, like the world does exist around you. What would they do if, you know, no one ever got the poker flute? Would that Snorlax stay there forever? It feels like the world exists just for you. And you know, in games mechanically video game worlds do exist just for you, but you're supposed to believe, like there's supposed to be like a suspension of disbelief where you believe that it's a functioning world that would exist without you. And I think Pokemon games never really do that. You're always the prime mover of like pretty much everything, you know. Actually, I kind of like Sword and Shield, as they didn't give that vibe. You really do feel like you can do a stadium full of people, and if it wasn't you, it would have been someone else in there. But yeah, this ROM hack is weird, I guess. So you can get 151. You then take both fossils, which kind of makes you the arsehole, which like makes me feel bad for that guy. I wish there was some way later to like breed them and give him one each. So I contemplated leaving it, but fuck it. If that's what the game wants you to do, I'm taking them. And yeah, I kept thinking there was a Jesse and James fight here, but it's not yellow. As far as I know about this ROM hack, it never claimed to be adding yellow shit in, so... Yeah, Philip won't make it back if I don't do that. Yes, we've got the Mega Kick and Mega Punch guys, but I don't really know. I'm really stingy with TMs. That's the trouble when they're limited use. I end up never using them. But for Nuzlocke, I really should. But then, on the other hand, if you use it and then the Pokemon dies, they've been completely wasted. But if they're not the best move in the end game, then it's not really a big loss if you use a move you're not going to keep forever anyway. And if it's the powerful move could prevent you from dying by making you more powerful, so it's a bit of a mixed bag, really. But yeah, we made it to a new city. It's weird how there's a huge ass water fountain as a centerpiece of the city in Pokemon Let's Go, but not in here. It's kind of long. I never really understood everyone's obsession with Bill. He just has more Pokemon than other people. It's like most trainers are... I thought most trainers were trying to catch them all. I thought that was the general vibe. Even if they weren't given a Pokedex, He just knows more shit. He hasn't got a job. He doesn't work for the government. He ends up making... I think he made the whole Pokemon box system, but then presumably he got paid for that. But it's all kind of vague as to how Bill makes a living, if at all. I know I don't have a Poliwhirl, but I feel bad if you say no, because it's no, I won't trade you, rather than no, I don't have one. So I'd rather trade him the wrong one and then have him realise, oh well, I gave it a go. Whereas in real life that'd be annoying. If you ask someone for something and they hand you something else. But potentially new Pokemon time. Let's see what we got in here. There's one particular Pokemon I'm hoping for. And you'll know why when I get it. If I get it. I'm a bit concerned about the peck. Yeah, see, I had every reason to be concerned. How bad would that have been, a critical peck and a death? But he's asleep like we wanted. Throw in someone he doesn't have super effectiveness against. Good level gap too. I always feel like Spearow has an advantage on Pidgey because he's a 2 evolution guy versus a 1 evolution guy. So he's effectively a 1.5 out of 3 and you're a 1 out of 3. That's always how I kind of visualize it, but I don't know if that's actually how it works. It's kind of weird how that anime episode had, Ash's Pidgeotto evolve into a Pidgeot right near the Pokemon League as well, as if he could totally have used it for that. Or was it after? It's been years. It's been so many years since I watched that show as a kid. Before I even knew what anime was, I thought it was just a cartoon of some kind, which, it is. It's a Japanese cartoon, but yeah, so Spearow always makes me think of spear, the weapon, but arrows are sparrows are usually called sparrow, and that has the word arrow in it. But then I didn't just want to call it sparrow, but then I realised it doesn't fucking matter because my plan is to trade it for a Farfetch'd, because that's a thing you can do, and I might even be able to catch a Thero later anyways, which I haven't caught yet, so I can. And then I wouldn't lose out. Plus, Farfetch can learn False Swipe, I believe, which is really good for catching Pokemon without killing them. It wounds them down to like 1 HP, so that's the thing. But with the irony, if I get Spearow killed before then, who knows? So yeah, I can't go north and get any more Pokemon because we know there's going to be a rival battle. Which is a mission. Yeah, my game seemed to like freeze up almost when I talked to this guy. It was so weird. And then I could leave. I don't know what he wants to entertain him. Like, come watch my gym battle, yo. But I don't remember him. He certainly wasn't in red and blue, I don't think. Couple of antidotes just to prevent off-screen like deaths between battles. That would suck. And yeah, I'd probably buy too many Pokeballs at some point in this game because obviously you switch up to newer balls and you only need to catch one in each area and you really want to make sure you succeed without fainting. So to an extent you spare no expense, but you also don't want to buy too many of the weak balls because there's no need. A couple of repels just in case I want to go to a deeper part of, say, a cave or something. When there's a multi-area place but you're only allowed one Pokemon in it. So yeah, I figure I'll take on Misty's little trainer friends, her henchmen, her goons, because they're not as strong as her, and it'll give me a rough idea. If I'm like struggling with them, then I need longer for her. Makes sense. Easy victory. He outspeeds and outlevels me. The horsey line's pretty fast. I need a level higher. Gutted that it doesn't quite kill him. That's so annoying. Probably would have killed him if I'd had one more battle first and leveled up. Does my attack? Oh, it's too fast. This should be easier. Shelter's a bit of a glass cannon. Like Corlister's got good attack, I think. He can harden himself too, but... Now, normally I always like to hold out leveling to get like the cooler moves earlier, like Razor Leaf or something. It's just patience, you know? But like... The trouble is, on this game, we really don't want to faint. Like, and so being tougher is key. Although having more powerful moves means you can end the battle before getting hurt quicker, that in-between stage where he's like under-evolved but still fighting guys who are evolved, he could be at more risk. So yeah, I let him level. But I was of two minds about it. I mean, he still got outsped by that Goldeen. Still can't one-shot a Goldeen even type advantage. Shame I'm not going to get Razor Leaf before Misty, I don't think. It's probably in the mid-20s or something. But yeah, definitely leave her for now. Gotta stop itching my face near the mic. Very fidgety person. Maybe I should record these live because at least then I can't like fidget, you know. But that cliche of like Twitch streaming and playing a game in silence is just so weird. I don't want to be that kind of nerd. So I guess I'll train a bit in time for Gary. Or green or blue. I should have called him blue. I've got my list of levels here, so I know not to like over level or anything. Easy. I think 18 is actually where I wanted to get him. It's weird though, because I don't know why I usually level off screen, so I don't know why I didn't cut the feed at this point. See what we've got left. But But yeah, I guess I'm not leveling up Lizban, so I'm only using 5. It makes me feel less guilty because I think he's only got 4 or something. But the thing is, I've been thinking about this more actually in hindsight. The whole thing of like, oh, you know, they've got Pokemon missing, they're at a disadvantage. Well, you're at a disadvantage because your Pokemon perma-die and theirs don't. Like, his Charmander's going to be there again next time. Will be a Charmeleon probably, you know? And so, like, actually, fuck them, outnumber them. It's their fault for not having more. I was also just paranoid about breezing through the game so easily and never having a casualty. I don't want to do that to the viewer because the whole point of a Nuzlocke is you don't want to send your Pokemon to their deaths, but like if you have none, it feels kind of like you've not made it hard enough. I don't know. It's like supposed to be a thing, right? This is my first ever one, so I have no real frame of reference other than all the ones I've watched. But yeah, I think that will about do it. I was probably trying to work out how long I'd been playing at this point. Yeah, here we go, trying to save. Paranoid about when you load up this VBA, it tells you how to save, but then once you're playing it, you're scared you're going to accidentally load instead of save, and you can't see the list of commands anymore. Bad design.